We have Publicos Asia founder and CEO and political analyst Malou Tiquia. Also joining us is campaign strategist Alan Herman, who is also the president and CEO of Agents International. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for waking up early to be my guest for today.
Privilege. What a privilege not only to be at the pilot, guest at the pilot episode, but to be with one of my idols, Malou, an industry beacon. And hey, I'm looking forward to talking about this firefight that's about to happen.
Correct. Well, it is one day before the official kickoff of the national campaign period.
That's right.
And we are in the midst of a complex political climate. The midterms coming up, but also an impeachment complaint in tow. That's why we invited both of you to help us, sink that in.
Or attempt to make sense of this
make
jigsaw.
sense of the whole situation, right? This impeachment complaint was in the House for almost about 2 months.
Yeah,
and then
over 3 years?
Yeah.
2023, they already started with it.
Well, the official filing was
like
October,
4 months.
I think. Yeah, October, since October.
And in the past week, it was a whirlwind, right? It just was sped up and sent over to the Senate. And I want to get your thoughts on what happened here. What caused the change of mind? Was there anything in particular, or to be more specific about my question, was the president, do you think, behind it?
Well, my sense, yes, because, in politics, things are planned. When it happens, there's actually planning in it. The son signed as number one, and that the bookend was the speaker at 215 tells a lot. My only worry there is that they sat on it for 3 months with the 3 impeachment, and then suddenly they came up with the 4th impeachment, which actually violated the rules. So I don't know how they will be able to explain that. When they transmitted it to the Senate, it was just a certification, and the articles of impeachment was not included. The articles of impeachment came out as a press release. They violated the rules because the 4th impeachment should have been referred to the Speaker, and the Speaker has 10 days to include it in the order of business. That was not done. What was done was on
the last day.
The last day, they actually pressured everyone to sign. And that signing, it was not referred to the Speaker. It was not included in the order of business. What was included was the 213 votes, and it was informed in the House.
But isn't this the shortcut version?
It is the shortcut.
You can collect 1/3.
That's true. But
votes from the
still, you need to refer it to the Speaker for 10 days in order to include it in the order of business. If you notice, Gretchen, there was no explanation of vote on the 1/3, right? And that they referred it on the last day, which the Senate cannot act on it because there is no plenary already. You have to understand that legislative bodies operate on the plenary, not individual members or committees. The plenary has to act on it before anything happens. So when they transmitted it to the Senate, it was like almost 5 p.m.
Yeah, for about 4:15.
Yeah, so what is the Senate supposed to do? Even if the Constitution says it should be immediately tackled, the fact of the matter is there is no plenary. There is no session already.
Actually, the Senate adjourned earlier than its calendar. Wednesday pa lang, although they had Thursday and Friday, they adjourned earlier. There are options, and we'll talk about that later. I want to know what you heard.
Even then, well, first, that's still a point of contention, whether the Senate, I mean, the word forthwith is the contentious word being bandied about. But to your question, Gretchen, although our Philippine democracy operates on 3 co-equal branches of government, I think we know from past experience, from decades of watching this political drama, we know that the executive pretty much has the driver's wheel in terms of controlling events, especially for a majority-dominated House. So does the President ostensibly have his fingerprints on this impeachment? Probably not. If you wanted to be technical about it, he has made pronouncements saying that, you know, I'm agnostic. I don't want to disturb matters of government business in terms of addressing poverty and whatnot. This is on the back seat, but perhaps those in the know will
Actually, ang
take that
sabi
with
niya,
a grain of salt.
kasi
yeah.
nagkaroon ng press conference no nung after nitong ma-declare, ang sabi ni Presidente is parang masyado naman yata tayong believe sa kanya na wala naman siya pakialam doon. He isn't as powerful as people make him out to be. He's given too much credit. And from this point on, he will just be a very interested observer.
Maybe a little self-deprecation on the
I don't think
president's
that's
part.
true.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the GAA, certainly he was involved in it.
Shots fired again.
Right? So again, I don't see it
Cannonballs
to
are
be
flying
such.
this way.
But I do remember back in November, after the presser or the Zoom conference of Vice President Sara Duterte, si PBBM meron siyang statement, may video siya eh. At ang sinabi niya, pursuing the impeachment is a storm in a teacup.
He sure did say
It's a
that.
waste
yeah.
of time.
Yeah.
And biglang nalito lahat, yung mga
Yes,
congressmen, kung anong
yes.
gagawin, tutuloy ba, hindi, I mean, yun ang tanong ko, what changed here?
And and until now, just to be fair, until now he's still officially, the official stand is he is an observer. He cannot directly intervene. By the way, the Constitution prohibits that in the first place. So what changed? I'm not sure if, and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I think this fits into a long-term strategy. What's happening here is something known as political kneecapping, which I'm sure Malou has vast experience in.
What does that mean? Help us understand
You're a
that.
volleyball player. You should know what kneecapping is.
When you kneecap your opponent, and the best time is you give your opponent the optimal length of time before you do any such kneecapping, so that their so-called recovery period, think about it like a kneecap injury, is lessened. So you wait until the last
But
minute.
then we're left in an awkward situation.
They meaning?
I mean, everybody's left in an awkward situation, whether or not to do the special session in the Senate, whether this will be tackled during that special session, or if this will be tackled right after the midterm
So
elections.
it tells you what's wrong with this administration. There is no plan. They plan politically.
But then he said it
in
was
the
a
long
plan.
term, yes, there's a plan, politically, transactional, but in the long term, there's none. They are subjected to the winds and the caprices of so many players. Very important to see that we are going into elections, to campaign period, and when you file an impeachment, that kind of makes the ground very difficult to read. You are administration, you control the levers of power,
Right.
and yet you throw this impeachment there. So it gravitates certain voter segments to really define their position. One of which are the Dutertes. I think it's very clear that the impeachment is a way to kneecap the Dutertes, whether for 2028, which is beyond, or between the years 2025 to 28. My problem there is the reading of this administration in terms of lame duck. I think this administration went on lame duck in a very, very early period when they did the PhilHealth, when they did the budget, when they did the impeachment. Those are cards thrown on the table that would, suddenly have a different impact, which they failed to measure. So when you go to the ground, people are angry. There is protest vote in terms of the PhilHealth and the GAA. Remember, it will be subject to the Supreme Court oral hearings. So this will add up to the percolation that is happening. And I think that misinformed, misreading of the situation would be to the advantage of the opposition. The problem with the opposition, PDP has not claimed to be the opposition.
Yes.
That is a big problem.
Well, just to take a contrarian point of view, one could also argue that there is great one-upmanship happening also to precisely sway attention away from
All of
the
those,
GAA
right?
and the PhilHealth. Suddenly they throw this
Because some
impeachment
would say
wrench,
some would say
last minute.
that it might have been the reason why this
Yeah,
this was
diversion.
pursued
Right,
because
overt.
of the issues over the budget.
Correct. I mean, the pillars of communication don't change. There's only avert, attack, and applaud. You're attacking, you're applauding your candidate, and you're averting issues away from.
What is your sense
sensitivities.
over the Senate? Over the weekend, several senators made different statements. Like, for
Right.
example, Cheese Escudero says there is no rush, no need to rush this. This will be tackled in proper time. The focus is on giving justice to the whole
Right.
situation. On the other hand, we have Senator Coco Pimentel saying that there are bills that still need to be tackled,
Sure.
and that could happen in a special session at hindi raw forthwith kung mag-aantay pa ng more than 3 months, no? Dahil ang nasa konstitusyon natin, dapat pagkapasa sa Senado, forthwith,
Forthwith,
the
agad.
Senate shall forthwith proceed.
Right.
What is your read on the Senate?
Well, right now, I think the Senate is trying to, and I just smiled at somebody who waved at me. Sorry about that. The Senate, I think, right now are really on ice, meaning to say they are standing on shaky ground. And if I were a senator, if I was a sitting senator, especially if I was running for re-election, I would want to push this under the rug as far as I could. Because again, the dynamics of a Senate election are the political calculus when you're running for a Senate is that 70% of your votes will come from retail votes or free market votes, and only 30% from machinery at the Senate level. So you're thinking, I'm going to end up alienating the Duterte votes, the Iglesia votes. Maybe this isn't the best thing for me to be voting on right now. Maybe let me run away from this as far as I can and try to remain as vanilla and as Switzerland as possible. So they're in a tenuous spot.
Especially after the show of power over at the INC rally,
Exactly.
right? Then how about you? Wouldn't it be something? Couldn't it be a bastion of power if they actually use this platform? If they had the impeachment trial during the midterm elections, somehow to change things on the ground. If things were not in your favor as a re-electionist.
It's going to be very hard to have an impeachment during the campaign. That's one. Why? Because impeachment is very political. And to a certain degree, you will right away be graded or evaluated by voters based on what you do during the impeachment. And you're talking of 12, 7 of which are running for re-election and 5 are retiring.
Correct.
So those things need to be factored in. My sense, the pressure is on the Senate, but I'm thankful that Senate President Escudero rose up to the challenge and really said, if you call a special session refers to bills, not to impeachment. And forthwith in the Constitution did not take into consideration that it was going to be an adjournment. An adjournment in legislation means everything stops unless the chamber authorizes the committees to continue with their work. But that does not cover impeachment. That does not cover plenary. Yun yung hindi naiintindihan ng mga tao. Ang plenary is where decisions are made. Plenary would mean all of them present.
They need a session to convene themselves as an impeachment court.
Well, that's one. And that is plenary. Second is the adoption of rules, which is plenary. Because the Senate, I don't think they have updated the rules on impeachment. And then third, an agreement on the calendar on when the impeachment court will meet. So I was so I was so surprised that the House immediately named their prosecutors without waiting for the Senate to convene as a court. The tradition has been let the Senate convene, and from that time, they send a transmittal to the House saying, we have transmitted and please name your prosecutors. Dito talagang plinansya eh. So magugulat ka, anong agenda? Ang agenda ba to make it a political issue, which is a wrong reading?
With your indulgence, Gretchen, I hope you don't mind. I'm curious though, why are the pro-Duterte supporters, why do they seem to be supporting a prolonged or a delayed trial, Senate trial, when in fact, would you say that it would benefit the administration if the new senators can
I do not even agree that the new Senate, the 20th,
The 20th
Senate
can,
has, yes,
can
yes.
even
because
there's no
that's a
continuation.
new
Yes.
constitution already.
And non-legislative, right?
Yes, yes.
So-
The problem there, tactically, the one-year ban
Yeah, in Congress.
in Congress.
In Congress. There's a one-year ban in Congress. But the
Congress.
Senate actually...
But you
well, at
cannot
least-
start another one.
Well, Justice Carpio, at least for his... well, he believes that the 20th can...
Crossover.
Crossover.
Yes, yes.